I mean, imagine you go all around the world and smash up everything that other civilizations built, loot what they built, pillage, steal, even steal their ideas and their concepts and their philosophies. And then you sit on top of this mountain of stolen goods and declare yourself to be rich because of your own merit. And imagine telling this lie to your children, to your own children, to your grandchildren, generation after generation. How do you think that's going to go? You didn't invest in creating actual merit. You cheated, you lied, you stole, you brutalized. And then you tell your own people that everyone else in the world has nothing and you have everything because of how much better you are than everyone else. How long is that lie sustainable? I mean, these are people who actually have civilizations, who actually created and built and accomplished and didn't just pillage and plunder. And there's still those people today, even though you have oppressed them, there's still those same people. And you're still the way you are. I mean, a good example actually is African Americans. I don't know if you can think of a people who were more held back, more deprived, more sabotaged than African Americans. You took everything away from them and took them away from everything. They started in your country at less than zero, literally regarded and treated as subhuman, not allowed to learn to read or write or anything for hundreds of years. But you see, they come from a people of accomplishment to one degree or another. Not a people of piracy and theft and appropriation. They come from a people who created and built and developed in their own countries, in their own land. And even though you did everything that you could possibly do to suppress them, to hold them down, to hold them back, and you're still doing that until today, end up being nothing more than a footnote in history.
Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Christine and thank you so much for tuning in. One of the greatest challenges in understanding history is recognizing that it is never completely finished. Every generation inherits stories about the past, but as new documents are discovered, new research is conducted, and new voices are heard, our understanding continues to grow. History is not simply a collection of dates and events. It is the story of people, their struggles, their achievements, their sacrifices, and the legacy they leave behind. The discussion before us encourages us to think carefully about how history is presented and how our understanding of different communities develop over time. For many years, certain parts of American history received greater attention than others, while many other important events were taught and documented. The achievements and experiences of some communities were not always explored in the same depth. As historians continued to study the past, a broader picture began to emerge, revealing countless contributions that had often received less recognition than they deserved. The story of Black Americans is one of the extraordinary endurance. It begins with millions of Africans who were forcibly taken from their homeland during the transatlantic slave trade. They arrived in America under heartbreaking circumstances, separated from their families, stripped of their freedom, and denied the basic rights that every human being deserves. Despite these unimaginable hardships, they preserved their traditions, built strong communities, passed down knowledge from generation to generation, and never abandoned hope for a better future. When slavery ended in 1865, freedom brought new opportunities, but it also brought new obstacles. Black Americans continued facing segregation, racial discrimination, unequal access to education, housing, employment, and voting rights. Yet even during these difficult periods, they continued building schools, churches, businesses, and community organizations that strengthened future generations. It is also important to recognize that Black Americans have contributed to nearly every field imaginable. They have served with distinction in the armed forces during every major conflict in American history. They have become doctors, engineers, and public servants. Their contributions have helped shape medicine, technology, literature, agriculture, architecture, transportation, and countless other areas of society. The discussion also reminds us that learning new historical information can sometimes surprise people. Many individuals discover facts later in life that they were never taught during their early education. This does not always mean that information was intentionally hidden. Historical education changes over time as research expands and educators attempt to present a more complete understanding of the past. History is strongest when it includes many perspectives. Every community has experienced moments of hardship and moments of triumph. When those experiences are studied together, they create a richer understanding of how nations develop and how societies overcome their greatest challenges. Another important lesson concerns resilience. The ability of the Black Americans to preserve hope despite centuries of adversity represents one of the most remarkable examples of human perseverance. Families continued raising children, communities continued educating future generations, churches continued offering spiritual guidance, businesses continued growing, and leaders continued advocating for equal treatment under the law. Ultimately, discussions like this encourage us to appreciate history not as a weapon to divide people, but as a source of knowledge that helps explain how modern society developed. Understanding the past allows us to recognize both human failures and human achievements. It teaches us that progress often comes through sacrifice, determination, and courage of ordinary people who refuse to give up on the hope of a better future.
I've never told this story in a video. I've mentioned it on podcasts before, but I've never made a video and told the story. My mother, seen here, was 16 years old when I was born. My dad was 21. They'd been together since she was 14. So she was 14, he was 19 when they got together. You guys have heard me talk about my dad before. He was very racist. My mother will tell you the same. And my mother, being very young and uneducated, she just kind of went along with whatever my dad did. And he was also abusive. My mother was abused. And I talked to her before I made this video to make sure that she's okay with me telling that part of her story. My dad was a domestic abuser and also a child abuser. He abused me as well. That's not the point of this video, though. When I was 3 years old, my mother was 19, she found the courage to leave my dad, which wasn't easy to do. And the divorce was nasty because my dad he's passed away now, a pretty controlling, narcissistic type guy. And shortly after leaving my dad, my mother was in a relationship with another man who was a black man. And my dad being the racist. See, I was raised in the 80s in North Carolina, and my dad was a racist. So her leaving him for a black man was like this big taboo thing. Like, you don't do that. And so when everything went to court, my dad ultimately got custody of me because the judge in the 80s in North Carolina is not giving the child to the woman dating a black man, to the white woman dating a black man, especially when my dad was the one with the career and the income and the money, and my mom had nothing. He had left her with nothing. Fast forward to when I was 10 years old. During those 7 years after the divorce, my dad taught me to hate my mom. He taught me that she was a sinner, that the Bible did not approve of interracial marriages. He showed me in the Bible where the Bible says you can't marry outside your race. And I believed her to be basically of the devil himself. I hated her. When I was 10 years old, I found out that my dad was being taken to court because my mother was trying to get visitation rights. I was terrified. I didn't want to meet this evil woman. She won. She got visitation rights of me. I'll never forget ever to this day. I can still vividly remember where I was, the weather and everything when she picked me up the first time. I was terrified. But I made it my mission, that first visit, that she would never visit me again. I made that my mission, that she would never want to see me after this day. I called her a sinner. I called her children, because she had 3 children with her second husband. Obviously, they were biracial children. And I called her children the N-word. I called her an N-word lover. Now, keep in mind, I'm 10 years old. But this is how I was raised. This is what I believed at age 10. And she told me, you shouldn't think like this or talk like this. And I ignored her. It was like a 2-hour visitation, whatever it was. And then she dropped me back off at my house. And I told my dad, she'll never pick me up again, Dad, I promise you. 2 weeks later, when it was time for her next visitation, I waited in my yard on the Saturday at the time that I was supposed to be there. And I was sure she wouldn't pull up, but she did. She did pull up. I was befuddled. Oh my God, she came back. This time, she took me to her house in a mostly black neighborhood, and a place I had never been. I was raised on the mountain, all white neighborhood, very much racist. And I was told that black neighborhoods were crime-ridden, filthy areas. Avoid them. So I went to this black neighborhood and I thought, oh my God, oh my God. I went in her house and she said, I want you to meet your brothers and sisters. And they came out and they were so excited to see me because my mom had never told them a bad thing about me. And I wanted to be mean to them because that's how I was raised. But I couldn't. I couldn't bring myself to be mean to them because they were so nice and polite to me. I was not nice to them. I tolerated them in my mind, but I wasn't mean to them. And then every 2 weeks she came and got me. And over the course of time, I built a relationship with my siblings, with her. And I started questioning things like maybe the things my dad told me are not true, because what I see in this neighborhood, what I see in my mom's house, what I see everywhere is not what I was told. And I had a choice to make at the early age of about 11. Do I believe what I was raised, or do I challenge these ideas? And just like my mom had got away from my dad and challenged those ideas and grew and was better, I decided that I too can be better. I started challenging the ideas my dad raised me in. It started a very tumultuous relationship with my dad, as if it wasn't tumultuous to begin with. Again, I was an abused child. I'm trying to keep this video short, so I'm missing a lot of very deep details, but I'm trying to give you the idea. By the time I was 15, I had read books and read the speeches of Dr. King and watched interviews with Malcolm X. And I really started realizing, like, there's a whole nother world out there that I didn't realize. Fred Hampton, Angela Davis, these things really opened my eyes. And I even basically got into a fight with my dad over it when I was 15 and was thrown out of my house. But my deconstruction process had begun, and it has continued for the past, 27 years. I'm 42 now. And it's all thanks to my mom. Just being a mom. Just showing up. And I've never had like the closest relationship with my mom because the story I just told you. But I've been friends with her now for, how old is that? 25 years. And I just want to say thanks for showing up. Thanks for not giving up on me. I may have never challenged my ideas and beliefs and may have been stuck in the same trap that, I was born into, and I wasn't. So thanks, Mom. Happy Mother's Day.
The reason I say white Americans have no culture is because most of the things that have become associated with white people were black inventions. White people love vanilla, but did you know that vanilla was actually invented by an enslaved black teenager who was 14 years old? His name was Edmund Albius. He's the person who made vanilla a mass-produced product because he figured out how to rapidly pollinate these plants. Or number 2, if you've ever heard of techno music, that was actually invented by black people in Detroit in the 80s, which now has become synonymous with a lot of white people in the US or white Europeans, when actually in reality this was purely the creation of a black person and black people. Or number 3, the thing that I think of a lot is how white people have co-opted barbecue. Specifically in California, where I grew up, you will see a lot of barbecue joints that were actually white people's recipes that they stole from black people. It's very much a ripoff of the common Southern home cooking, which, came out of the American South, both during slavery and during the Reconstruction era. So yes, white people don't have any culture, we steal it. And that has historically been the case, and that is why white people are so angry. You know any other inventions created by black people but stolen by white people? Drop them in the comments. Okay, bye!
As a white passing mixed person, I hear racist stuff all the time. It's time to expose. Alright, so one time I was with this group of white people, and the girls were talking about this girl who had jungle fever. And this white girl goes, "Isn't it a shame to see our race mixing with another? What's going to happen to our white purity?" I couldn't believe what I just heard. There was another time where I was at a party, and the only other black person there left early. Right after he left, one of the white dudes there proceeded to say the N-word. Not even in a song or anything, just said it out loud. When I confronted him about it, he said, "What? He's not here anymore." Little did he know that I'm a double agent. Needless to say, that situation was handled. There was another time where we were talking about an opposing basketball team. We were talking about why the team was so good, and somebody goes, "They're only good because they let all the charity cases on the team." There were no white people on this team. I'm sure I'm not the only white passing person with these kinds of stories, so feel free to duet.
Welcome back. As we come to the end of today's discussion, it is worth remembering that history is far more than a record of famous leaders and major events. It is also the story of ordinary people whose daily lives shaped the future of their communities and their nation. Every generation leaves behind lessons that the next generation can study, question, and build upon. The history of Black Americans illustrates one of the most remarkable examples of perseverance in modern history. For centuries, millions of people endured slavery, where they were denied freedom, separated from their loved ones, and treated as property rather than as human beings. Yet even under those conditions, they maintained hope, preserved cultural traditions, created music, developed skills, practiced craftsmanship, and laid foundations that would influence generations to come. When slavery officially ended, equality did not arrive overnight. Black Americans entered a society where discrimination continued in many forms. Laws enforcing segregation affected schools, transportation, and public life. Opportunities available to some citizens remained limited for others. Despite these obstacles, Black Americans continued pursuing education, building businesses, purchasing land, and creating institutions that strengthened their communities. One of the most inspiring aspects of this history is the determination to succeed despite repeated barriers. Across generations, Black Americans became teachers who educated thousands of students, doctors who saved lives, scientists whose discoveries advanced knowledge, inventors whose ideas improved daily lives, musicians whose creativity transformed world culture, athletes who inspired millions, military veterans who defended their country, and public officials who worked to improve society. The influence of Black Americans extended into agriculture, engineering, aviation, medicine, and technology. Their contributions are woven into the fabric of American history. Recognizing these accomplishments does not diminish anyone else's achievements. Instead, it creates a more accurate and complete understanding of how the United States developed. Another lesson we learned from history is that societies continuously re-evaluate themselves. Historical research never truly ends. New archives are opened, forgotten letters are discovered, archaeological evidence is examined, and scholars compare different sources to improve our understanding of the past. As a result, history becomes richer and more detailed with each generation. The discussion also encourages us to think about representation. For many years, countless achievements made by Black Americans received less attention in textbooks and public discussion than they deserved. As historians expanded their research, these stories became increasingly recognized, helping people appreciate the enormous impact Black Americans have had on every aspect of American life. At the same time, Historical honesty requires balance. Every nation experiences periods of success and periods of failure. Recognizing historical injustice does not erase the progress that has been made, just as celebrating progress does not erase the suffering that occurred. Both realities exist together and form part of the same historical journey. Perhaps the greatest lesson from this discussion is that knowledge continues to grow. Every generation has the opportunity to examine evidence, ask thoughtful questions, and develop a deeper understanding of the past. History should never be feared. Instead, it should be approached with curiosity, honesty, and a willingness to learn. The remarkable resilience of Black Americans stands as one of the defining stories of perseverance in world history. Despite slavery, segregation, discrimination, and countless obstacles, generations continued to build families, educate children, defend their countries, and contribute to society in ways that continue to influence the world today. Likewise, the broader American story includes people from every background whose combined efforts shaped the nation into what it is today. Recognizing the contribution of all communities produces a more complete historical picture and helps us appreciate the richness of America's diverse heritage. In the end, history is not about assigning permanent blame or permanent praise. It is about understanding how people lived, the choices they made, the obstacles they faced, and the legacy they left behind. When history is examined fairly and completely, it becomes one of the humanity's greatest teachers. Thank you for listening. I hope this discussion has offered a deeper appreciation of the history of Black Americans, the evolution of historical understanding, and the importance of recognizing overlooked contributions, and the enduring truth that the story of any nation is strongest when every community's role is acknowledged with honesty, fairness, and respect. Thank you for watching. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. Share and like the video. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.